up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book, because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront. No hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
You're listening to Joco Community Radio.
Welcome to tonight's segment of Reach Across Johnson County on Joco Community Radio. You can join us live here on Facebook or download the TuneIn Radio app. It's free, where we are live 365 on Joco Community Radio, the voice of Johnson County, Texas. My name is Shari Phillips, and I am one of your hosts this evening. I'm going to let my other two co-hosts introduce themselves real quick.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ashley Vasquez.
And I'm Erica.
Hello, ladies. Thank you for being here with me this evening. To give you a little information on Reach, Reach's mission is to support safe and healthy choices vital to the well-being of our youth, families, and community. This show will guide you, educate you, and inspire you to be a part of the solution and to reach out and help make a difference in our communities. What began as a local movement in the city of Midlothian grew to include programs throughout Ellis County with only a few years and eventually expanded into our neighboring Johnson County, Texas. And here we are today. And our topic this evening is going to be electronics and your kids' mental health. And we have some special guests in from Mind Above Matter. And I apologize. I kept wanting to say over matter. We were talking about that a while ago. I thought, please don't let me say that wrong tonight. And so we've got Rikia and Danielle that are here with us tonight. And I'm going to have Ashley read their bios real quick, if you would.
Yeah, so Rikia Ancar, MALMFT. Rikia is a New Orleans native who relocated to the DFW Metroplex in 2020. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a wide range of experience and happily describes outpatient services as her jam. Rikia earned her Master's of Couple and Family Therapy from Adler University in Chicago and passionately believes in comprehensive and quality care for clients and families. Outside of Mind Above Matter time, you can find Rikia traveling, running, reading, and trying new restaurants. She is also a dog mom to a rambunctious mini Labradoodle named Cayenne, who is frequently in the background of calls if he's not at Camp Bow Wow. I love that. Love that. I'm a dog mom as well.
I think we all are.
And we also have Danielle Jackson, and Danielle Jackson is an LPC associate under the supervision of Randall Duncan, LPSS, working in higher level outpatient care at the PHP IOP level for adolescents at Mind Above Matter. She has additional experience in inpatient care and nonprofit clinics. She has been trained in play therapy techniques through UNT's Master's Clinical Mental Health Counseling Program on the Child Track and was a CASA court-appointed special advocate volunteer for Ellis County for 6 years. Her therapeutic focuses are trauma, abuse, foster children, defiant behaviors, and child-family relationships. She believes that childhood is the foundation of the future, where therapy can create a strong, healthy foundation to build upon throughout life.
That's awesome.
I love that also.
Welcome, ladies. We're so happy to have y'all back with us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So tonight, we're really excited about the topic tonight because I think it's something, well, we were talking about our kids, but it's like we ought to talk about adults too, because I think everybody is so connected to their technology anymore that it's kind of crazy. So where do y'all think we should start? Do y'all want to talk about how social media plays a major role in self-esteem, relationships, connections, and things like that? Y'all want to start there, or is there a better place to start?
Maybe we should start with the pandemic.
Yeah,
that's probably
and then kind of zero in.
I feel like that just messed
works.
everything all up. It just changed everything across the board.
Yeah. With the pandemic, I think, and it depends on what setting you work in at the time, because a lot of therapists actually didn't stay home. If you worked in hospitals, worked for CPS, worked like all these different community agencies.
Yeah, Erica was in that field too.
I was in a doctor's office setting.
Right. And so it's like we didn't stay home. We wore a lot of PPE. But then there's folks that did stay home and doing therapy online. A lot of people have actually taken to it and kind of are okay with it. Some people hate it, and technology is like a barrier to them getting help.
So y'all were still able to see patients and stuff during that time.
So, I was going to say, so ma'am did with virtual before easing back into being in person.
In person.
Yeah.
Okay. I know. I will say, the one good thing is, with us, we're typically out in the community. We're in schools and things like that. And of course, when this hit and things shut everything down, I mean, that's when I guess we discovered Zoom and things like that. And so we were able to continue and still be able to do things, at our jobs and stuff, luckily, because I know a lot of people, their jobs basically just stopped or,
in the service industries and flights and all that. And you'd see, of course, a big increase in people feeling anxious or worried because their jobs aren't functioning. And so they need the care, but then there comes the conundrum of like, can they afford the care?
Yeah.
You know, given the fact that they're not working.
Mhm.
One of the things about Zoom are like kids coming up in the pandemic. So like we're all adults. We figure it out, we navigate it. But with kids, they missed, depending on where you go to school, depending on where you live in the country, your kid would have missed at least one full school year, which means missing out on a lot of social interaction time, missing out on how to navigate different things that are kind of like coming of age, right? So if you're supposed to go from middle school to ninth grade during the pandemic, during 2020, that whole year you spent your first year of high school at home.
Yeah.
Then you go back and you're in 10th grade and people expect that you're going to have some know-how about you.
Right.
But they don't, because they missed that entire year of opportunity. You know, same with kids graduating and then going to college, right?
Yeah, it was kind of tough for everybody. I did feel sorry for a lot of the seniors, you know, the year that things shut down in March. I mean, they didn't get to have their prom or graduation or it was tough.
I didn't get to.
You didn't get to have yours?
No, not with my master's. We were online, and I did my entire internship through the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
So I remember in ethics class, we were talking about virtual therapy and like, it's kind of taboo. Don't do it. We don't have the structure or the safety for it. And then we were just kind of thrown into it.
Wow.
A semester later, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I know we do. So, you know, now that we've everybody's kind of coming back to, I guess, what's our new normal and everything now, I like sometimes still having the capability of doing Zoom because sometimes some of our meetings, our turnouts, you know, are a little bit better than some of our in-persons if they have to travel and things like that. So there is that convenience still, but I love our in-person stuff so much more.
We were designed to be in person.
Yes,
So it just makes all the more sense for actual connection.
Yeah. So I worried about the kids. I will say I was lucky that I didn't have my kids were grown and out on their own. And so I didn't have to worry about teaching kids at home and things like that. So I didn't have that pressure on me, but I could just imagine, you know, because I had a brother that's had 2 kids and my daughter she was a first grade school teacher and just things that I would hear from different people. And I don't know. I don't think I could have done it. So thank the Lord it didn't happen when my kids were still at home or we would have all been crazy. That's for sure. But I did worry about, you know, the kids that were coming back because, you know, our kids tend to be social creatures and not having that. I'd wondered how that ended up, affecting our kids. And did y'all see where there was a lot more depression and all with our kids?
Definitely.
Absolutely. Because I worked last year inpatient and we saw a heavy increase in inpatient admissions directly related to kids going back to school in person and not knowing how to socialize and teachers stressed out because they're having to repeat the whole last year.
Yeah.
But also keep them in line with this year, you know. So I did see a major impact.
No, you're talking about an increase in the youth or in adults as well?
I only worked in inpatient for youth. So I saw.
I would say so for adults. So I did inpatient for substance use at that time, primary substance use. And so you would see people that maybe would have a drink here or there, but they always had to like get up, leave the house, go to work, commute. Like that level of responsibility was no longer there. Like you commute from your bedroom to your living room. And so you would see a lot of people increase, you know, their drinking habits or even other habits, right, with different substances, because there's that lack of responsibility or something. People that would normally try to curtail their or like curb their urge.
At least until they got home or whatever.
At least until they got home, right?
Yeah.
But if you're at home all day and you have less meetings and the meetings you do have, you can go, you know, nice shirt and pajama pants, then it's very easy for people to fall into that pit of struggling with their addiction.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that was the time too that they let alcohol be alcohol to go.
They deliver it.
Yeah, and deliver to your door now. I mean, that was tough. And
us being in prevention, I mean, we hope that, adults are responsible and things like that. I know that we did, we worked with the state coalition where we would go and do, the research where we'd go and see what the procedure was, make sure they, ID'd and stuff when they brought it to the car, how it was packaged and stuff like that. And I'd wondered, if this was the alcohol to go or alcohol that was being able to deliver to the home, if it was going to open more access to our kids and stuff at that point. A lot of things actually changed, because of COVID. But what do you think as far as I mean, I know a lot of times our kids are so connected to their phones that they've got their head in their phones all the time. But as far as communication, it seems like they always want to text versus having that one-on-one conversation. What are y'all's thoughts on that even?
Yeah, I think that their social growth is stunted in a way. And so it's easier to text because you can erase things. You can think about what you want to say. And then if somebody kind of misunderstands you, you can just say, oh, I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
And you have an opportunity to quickly rephrase versus being in person and having to deal with potential conflict, or just even not wanting to talk on the phone.
Yeah.
Now some kids did begin to use things like FaceTime on their iPhones, to be able to talk with their friends. So there's a difference. They could at least see each other, but there's still that barrier, that disconnect.
Yeah.
But that's, they miss some formative years there.
Yeah.
And in Texas, it's probably just one school year, but in some states it's 2 school years or a year and a half. And I'm a New Orleans native, and so it's kind of different across the state with the different types of schools they have. But when you have a year and a half, somebody who's 16, sophomore or just turned 16, all of a sudden they're back in person and they're an adult.
Yeah.
On paper,
right?
Yeah. And so that comes with everybody's expectations stayed the same, but their abilities were not. You know what I'm saying?
Where they needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I know I saw a deal here just recently. I don't know if it was on a TED Talk or something, but I was talking about, kids that turn 18, that they're considered an adult, but you don't always have that parent that's there pushing you to do better or do what you're supposed to do, take responsibility, get up, go to work or whatever, that they have to become responsible for themselves. And, that I will when I feel like it. They don't realize that as an adult, we do things whether we feel like it or not. We just have to have that responsibility to go in and do that, because I don't think anybody, unless they really enjoy their stuff, wants to get up every day and trudge in and things like that. But sometimes our kids have difficulty with that. But I don't know, I guess the conversations, that I'm hearing is, a lot of times kids aren't able to communicate, and they feel like it's due to because of our technology that we have available to them now. So I didn't know what all y'all actually see as far as complications, if y'all see anything in particular that, or do y'all deal with that? I know y'all go into schools and stuff like that as well, right? So is that an issue even at schools?
I love the look on her face. It's like, please let me answer this question.
So my program isn't in the schools, so they withdraw from school most of the time and come in person.
Come see you.
And a lot of times I have to encourage the kids to talk.
Yes.
Because they would more likely to write their response down instead of verbalizing it, and then not knowing how to respond to somebody else, and the conflicts between parents wanting to sit down and have conversations versus kids can you just text me?
Yeah.
Why are we having this conversation right now? Can you just text me? And so having to navigate how to increase kids' communication abilities to do it in person. But then most of them grew up with technology from a very young age, and not being able to know what it's like to not have that, whereas their parents know what it's like, so we can put it down,
and walk away.
It's easy for us, but that's part of their development is a device has always been a part of them. And it's easier to communicate sending a text than it is to, hey, how are you? All the small talk and just send a direct message. And I see a lot of kids not even using text messaging anymore to communicate. It's social media. Right? And like Snapchat and Instagram. Like I'll ask my kids, they'll say, oh, I was texting my boyfriend last night. And I was like, were you texting them or were you messaging them on an app? Because that's a little different. And a lot of them don't even share their actual numbers.
Oh, wow.
It's like fully on social media, and it's just
They'll
a
say,
different
just snap me.
Yeah.
It's a different dynamic.
So, okay, so I'm not on Snap. So is Snap the one that you can you talk to, you do like a little video type deal?
You can, yeah.
Okay.
They send pictures back and forth, but you can also just like chat and just send like typed out messages.
I like to
Oh.
take pictures with the filters, you know,
Yes.
like with like a puppy.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But the appeal there is that unless you save it and the other person is going to get notified that you save it, is that things disappear.
Oh,
Quote
yeah.
unquote.
They think things
Right.
disappear.
Right.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. Right. But for the most part, especially if your parents are not tech savvy, like let's say you confiscate a phone, but you're not tech savvy, you don't know how to work that. To you, it's disappeared because you don't know where to look.
But it's still there.
It's still
nothing.
there.
Nothing ever really. Once it's out there, it's out there.
It's out there. Yeah. And so, that's one of the issues I think with Snapchat and Instagram, or like looking at people's stories on Instagram. It's I think a difficult thing. Also, they don't always use words. Sometimes they use emojis.
Yeah.
And their usage of emojis is a little different than ours as adults.
So like deeper meanings.
Yes. They create their own meanings, just like, they can create kind of like slang, right? Like you create your own meaning and then it catches on in the community that you're in, right?
Yeah,
so
their
other
peer
kids,
group.
right? So they use the emojis in a different way. So even if I'm a parent and I'm reading this message, maybe I'm not getting the full intent.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand the way they use the emojis.
I know I saw something recently on that regarding, kids gaining access to substances through the Snapchat or some of the different platforms. And I saw a deal where it showed all these different emojis and, they were looking for certain drugs or something like that. And it was all done through emojis. And it caught me off guard. I'm thinking, really? It's like, oh, wow. Things have really changed.
It's literally its own language.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So then it makes it hard for parents to then monitor them. And I think too, when you talk about like how Danielle said, it's always been a part of them. I think that's a part of it as well. So think about the studies that were done on people who started smoking early. It affects their brain chemistry.
Yeah.
They're less likely to quit because their brain has molded in a way
they can't function without it.
They can't function without it. And so for our kids, I'm sure in 15, 20 years, there'll be tons of studies about how their pathways have been altered because they started off with devices very young.
Yeah. Well, see, when my kids were growing up, our biggest issue was video games, trying to get them to get off the video games. My kids were in high school when, the cell phones became popular to where everybody was starting to get them. In fact, my kids had iPhone before I had an iPhone. And it's like, I did good to have a flip phone for the longest time. and then when I started the job that I'm in and everything, that's when I actually learned the iPhone and could check emails and all that kind of stuff. So I think I do good just to do that sometimes. But I've noticed that a lot of times, and even with myself, I do feel a little bit lost not having, my phone, at least where I know if I leave the house and I don't have my phone, it's like, dang, I'm gonna have to go back and get my phone because I'm gonna need it. But I think about our kids now, that they're all so connected to the phone, but going into school and stuff like that, some schools don't allow their kids to have phones on. And so kids get in trouble because they do get their phones out and message and stuff like that. So I didn't know if y'all saw things, like that was anything that y'all kind of addressed, or what recommendations that you might have to parents regarding kids, putting away their phones and things like that, or their different technologies. Any help on that?
So one thing that we do at all of our sites is Kids have to turn in their phones at the door.
Oh, okay.
We don't allow phones because one, it poses a risk for HIPAA.
Okay.
Because if you're snapping with somebody or you're recording, you could be recording somebody else's private thoughts that they've been brave enough to share in groups. So we confiscate the phones. Recommendations to parents, I would say learn a lot about how you can use different phones, because I think we buy them because that's what's available or this is on sale or whatever, right?
Mhm.
But if you don't know the ins and out of a phone, they can hide a lot of things from you.
Yeah.
I think also creating a culture within the home too of like expectations, like as the younger you can, starting rules and regulations and structure around devices helps create that ability to disconnect. Encouraging family night where no phones, including parents, y'all put it away.
Right, no phones during dinner or
we do that one.
Right, like or this is like family movie night, like nobody's gonna have their phone on, we're just gonna watch this movie. And as parents, not being afraid to look through the phone. I know that a lot of parents want to create trust, which I agree with. If your kids don't feel that you trust them, then they don't have anything to really strive for. But setting it up early that going through their phone is a regular part of what's going to happen, or looking at their internet browser history, that's just a normal thing that's going to happen.
So maybe even like before you get them that phone, if you get to that point, and say,
have that
just
conversation.
so you know, this, I'm going to be looking at your phone, knowing what's there. Don't put anything out there that you wouldn't want mom or dad to see, and things like that. That makes sense. What are y'all's thoughts on what age should kids gain access to stuff like the cell phone?
That's a whole conversation.
Yeah, that's a hard question. Because obviously we want kids to be able to be safe. The easiest way to track a kid is on their phone. If they skip school or, God forbid something else happens, easiest way to track them down. So you want them to be able to utilize it in a case of emergency. So I think that as parents, you have to figure out what that looks like for you. Like, for instance, if your child's in middle school, but you pick them up every day, they don't need a phone. Right? They don't ride the bus. Or if grandma's picking them up every day, they don't need the phone. Right? But if they're going to be somebody who's involved in sports, staying after school or in band, then you have to decide, and you can also, create different parental controls on the phone before you ever even give it to them.
What about, like, so if you've got a kid that has a phone, do you recommend that letting them have all the different apps, or would you prefer that, or recommend that parents limit what they have access to?
I would say limit what they have access to. My significant other, that's what he does with his daughter. She's 11. And so she has, it prompts him for his permission for apps.
Yes,
So does she have like an
app too?
Really?
Yes. If he wants to download an app, it asks parents permission. Like, so and so wants to download blah blah, and you have to give permission.
Yeah, you have to say yes or no, or like, is it accept, deny? I think is the choice. Yeah.
Is that though he can still access it through, which I found out that he can still get TikTok and access it through a browser.
Really?
So he didn't have to have the app.
So there's not a way,
because I told him, I was like, you're not allowed to have TikTok, Snapchat, some other things.
So is that when you do something? Because like I said, I'm not very tech savvy and everything, but I've heard, like, a lot of people say they recommend like Watchdog or something like that to put on the phones to help monitor.
I think with something like Watchdog, I would say for parents, taking that step if you have a lot of concerns. Because you do want to teach them some level of responsibility, kind of get them used to like spot checking and things like that. But something like Watchdog can be invasive. How often do you want to be notified, right? Because it's gonna blow your phone up.
Yeah.
If they're a big texter, then you're gonna get everything that they get to their phone. You're gonna get.
So, do you think that most kids now are going straight to the iPhones or the smartphones and not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you think about the embarrassments?
Having a flip phone.
The flip phone. Oh no, mom, you can't send me to school with a flip phone. And then the phone companies make it very easy because you can like let's say I'm a parent, I want to buy a phone. Well, then I can get a deal on another phone.
Yeah.
And so it just makes it more economically friendly for parents to do it that way.
Oh yeah, they're like, oh, it's cheaper to have 4 lines than 3.
Yeah, we kind of got into that. They told us we needed to have a home phone too. So, well, I know we're fixing to go to break, so I don't want to bring up anything else specifically for us to get caught up in and everything. But if you will, please stay tuned and come back for the second half of Reach Across Johnson County as we talk to the ladies from Mind Above Matter. Thank you.
Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog.
I'm Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog. You know, when I get the hankering for a hot dog, I go to Cleveland, Texas. Just a couple blocks off the square, they got Loafing Dog. They got the Neely Dog, the Mary Sunshine Dog, the Casey Dog, and the Shirley Dog. Why, they even got the Pacer Dog, the Brooklyn Dog, and the Jim Dog. Can't forget the Shane Dog, or the Joy Dog, and the Monty Dog. I like that fool. The Nakia Dog and the Braxton Dog round things off. Why, they even got a kids menu too.
Loafing Dog, 208 East Chambers Street, Cleveland, Texas. Lunch, catering, or takeout, plus outdoor seating. Phone numbers 817-556-1040.
This is Wilfred Brimley. And don't forget, Loafing Dog won't give you diabetes.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
You're listening to JoCo Community Radio.
Hi, welcome back to JoCo Community Radio. We're proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoco.com is the place to find all the things to listen and watch. And the station app is also available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store. Check out our lineup and more at jococommunityradio.com. This episode and more brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-TEX-HAIL. That's 844-TEX-HAIL. Be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. That's TheTiffie.com. Now we're back on with the ladies from Mind Above Matter.
Yes, thank y'all for being here. And we've been talking about electronics and our kids' mental health. And I think we were during break we said something about let's go ahead and talk about excessive screen time because I know that tends to be a big issue for a lot of families.
Definitely. I think one excessive screen time and like not being monitored kind of leads kids into different spaces that they shouldn't venture into. So like different Reddit posts or different, I guess, online environments that might promote violence or promote drug use. The more they're on there, the more they can explore. But excessive screen time, especially, disrupts their sleep.
Okay.
And, think about how you feel. If you don't sleep well, how does tomorrow go? Not great.
Not great at all. Yeah.
And so, along with, not sleeping well, not feeling that great, they still have to go through a full day of school, which could involve all kinds of things, right? Drama. We know how it is in middle school, high school, it's lots of drama. But also obligations, and it's hard for them to remember things. And so there's that frustration. But then we also have to deal with puberty. And so not sleeping on top of hormones leads to like a lot of difficulty in controlling their impulses.
Yeah. So do you think it, I know that like when we talk substance and stuff like that, that it, has a chemical response to our brain and how that affects it. How on the mental side of it, does the electronics actually affect things? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, I see a lot with instant gratification.
Okay.
And not being able to wait a period of time to receive something or get something. It's just like instant. I need it now.
Okay.
I can't wait for it. I can pick up my phone and get it here now, or I can look it up. I don't want to wait for it. And then also like emotional regulation, because they're not in that human contact. There's people using the emojis and laughing. Oh, I'm dying. Ha ha ha. But they're like straight faced.
Yeah.
They're not reacting. And so they're not practicing those skills and being able to express themselves and also like regulate themselves. So I see a big effect in just all of that.
You mean like identifying their emotions, their specific emotions?
Identifying and being able to regulate themselves, like not being able, like when something gets them mad, oh, I'm going to throw my remote, or I'm going to throw my controller because this is making me mad. And I need to have this done now. I don't want to die on my game or whatever it is.
That makes a lot of sense.
And not being able to work through those emotions, because we learn through modeling with adults and other people. If we're stuck behind a screen for hours on end, we're not practicing those skills. We're not picking up from other people and learning from other people. And so I see a big negative effect on that emotional regulation and whatnot.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you also see like a big disassociation from reality?
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of thinking. I was kind of wondering if it eventually, you were talking about how they laugh or whatever, but they're not really laughing. And it kind of made me think, like, are they kind of starting to numb out almost?
I get a lot of kids that are desensitized to a lot of things that if I were to see them on social media or online would be devastating. And it would have an emotional impact on me. And then also just that lack of emotion. I have a lot of kids more recently this semester questioning whether or not their feelings are their feelings. And not understanding how, and kind of that disassociation or derealization, not knowing that their world is reality, and because they're so used to an alternate universe, or you know what I mean. And so just not understanding that, like, the present moment, they don't know how to live in the present moment.
How do you work with the student with that, having that issue? I mean, how do you, what steps do you take to maybe correct that?
So I think the first part is working backwards and giving them the knowledge and the language and the awareness of their emotions. And that's what we do a lot of in group is especially our process group, where we're kind of talking about our emotions and problems, and we start the conversation with, how are we feeling today? A lot of kids will be like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, nope, look at the feelings wheel on the board.
Pick one.
Pick a feeling. And a lot of the feeling on the feelings wheel that I have comes with like how it feels in the body. So sometimes we don't know what the label for it is, but we know what the feeling in our body is. So it kind of starts that communication. But I think the foundation is bringing back that awareness of themselves, of like, okay, this is what it feels like. This is what my present moment is.
That's good. I know that sometimes kids, with technology, they have a tendency to maybe say things or treat people like they wouldn't if they were, when I say that, sometimes they still treat people kind of badly in person. But let's just kind of talk about, bullying, the cyberbullying and things like that, because I know that, we've lost, some kids, here recently, even that it started out, through text and, in social media and stuff like that. And kids don't know how to handle that. And I'll be honest, I don't know that some adults maybe know how to handle that.
I think it's just people in general.
Right. I was thinking that too. Adults. I mean, I feel like that I've seen adults that will post things just for likes.
Yeah.
Or
they
in
get
a
upset if they
bragging
don't have enough
thing,
likes or things like that, that their numbers aren't up. It seems like there's such a focus on that.
Like that their identity is in that.
Yeah.
They feel like people like them if they're liking what they have to say or what they
Yeah.
post. Yeah.
So I kind of wondered, do y'all see that too? I mean, to where you've had somebody that's come to you that either they've been bullied or maybe they are the bully or something like that, and you kind of have to, is that kind of like a rewiring type deal that we have to work on, or is kind of explain to me how that process would be? Because, I know that stuff that's going on all the time, and I'm sure that we've got parents that are, listening in and may wonder, what can I do? I mean, is it something that they go through at school and the school notifies like your organization, or is it something they can reach out, or what do you recommend?
I think it differs from district to district. So we have a partnership with HEB. So what is it? Hearst, Euless, Bedford. And so the main therapist over there is Stephanie C. We have several Stephanies on. So Stephanie C. She has a really, really good relationship with the intervention team there.
Okay.
And so when things are brought up, then the intervention team acts pretty quickly, and then Stephanie will kind of like swoop in and help with the kids.
Do most schools have like an intervention team now? I mean, that
yeah, most districts do. So again, being from Louisiana, I'm used to like you go to school in this parish / here it's a county, but in Louisiana it's a parish. And so all the schools in the parish, right? Like there's a setup there. So maybe you differ from like these few cities to these few cities, but here it's like if you turn left, here's one ISD. If you turn right, here's another one. And so the policies and the structure differs. But I think a lot of districts have saw the need for intervention teams that will be like a step above your school counselor, because the intervention team counselors tend to be licensed like Danielle and I.
Okay. Do you think that, kids specifically, they act differently at school than they do at home then, or?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Because I'd wondered too, because, I know that, some of the teachers that I know, sometimes they see and recognize things maybe before parents do on some stuff. And so they may reach out. And then at the same time, some parents, feel like you're, I don't know, what word am I looking for? Not necessarily that they're being attacked or that they've been neglectful or something like that. And I'd wondered, what's the best method? Do you think, the school and parents coming together and then doing hopefully what's best for the child, or?
Yeah. So that's like in the dream world.
In the dream.
I think the biggest thing that we run into is like it's double-sided, right? So a parent recognizes it, is trying to bring that to light with the school. The school doesn't do what the parent deems is right. So I'm not going to say the school doesn't do anything, because that's not always true. But the school or school district doesn't necessarily do what the parent feels is enough to stop the problem, right? Because kids, like we talked about, can navigate social media, can navigate different platforms in much savvier ways than the adults that create the rules, right? So you create a rule, you set a limit, you set a boundary. Some kids will navigate around it.
Okay.
And so then the parent at home is still seeing this impact on their kid. So it feels like the school isn't doing anything.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. Maybe a parent, a teacher or a counselor at school is like, this is happening. We need to do something about it. And the parents don't necessarily believe it.
Yeah.
So it really depends case by case. But I think the biggest thing with bullying, like the way we can address it, is one, with the kids to help them process that, help them build up their self-esteem, because a lot of the things that they're being bullied about actually don't have anything to do with them. It's not even true.
Yeah.
Right. Getting them to kind of assert themselves, hold up boundaries, not connect with certain people. Because I think that also is difficult if the cyberbullying comes from your quote unquote friend group. Right, then it's hard to step away from that. So you kind of put up with the bullying because you don't want to be isolated.
Yeah.
So we kind of help them. I would say we probably help kids navigate that more than the other situations, right? Like it's not always like the big bad wolf or like, the mean girl on campus. It tends to be somebody who they know really well, who's using something against them, unfortunately.
Oh, Jesus. So
Well,
sad.
and I also think that when growing up, we were able to escape our bullies because we could go home.
Yeah.
They weren't.
Yeah, there was no social media.
Right. And so now they carry their bullies in their back pocket everywhere they go at all times of the day. So I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about that depersonalization and the disassociation. There is somebody on the other side of that screen, and it's real easy to use something against them or to make comments that you wouldn't necessarily say in person.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I'll ask the kids, how are they being bullied? And 9 times out of 10, it's online. They're not saying anything in person. And that's the problem, is that the bully isn't addressing it in person.
They're doing it online.
And it's their friend.
Yep. Because a lot of it can be done from what they call burner accounts.
Or spam accounts.
Yeah.
It's just random.
Yeah. And they can.
So they're not even identifying themselves necessarily on.
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Or it's like most kids have a spam account, which is the account that they use that their parents don't have access to, because they have a normal one that their family and friends have.
See,
And then they have.
I didn't even know about that.
And so they have spam accounts that's where they do the
stuff.
stuff. Yeah. And so sometimes it's labeled their name, but a lot of times it's, a different
a fake
name
thing.
or a fake name.
Yeah, or just like a username. Like it could
Pikachu
be
43 or something.
Yeah, like it could literally be anything. On rare occasion, kids can also get their hands on burner phones. Where it's like, oh, my parents paid this phone bill, but then they buy like a literal burner phone, like a prepaid phone with like their allowance or whatever if they work their little money. It's really cheap, and they do whatever they want with that burner phone because the parents don't know it exists.
Wow.
Or even using different apps that change the number. So I use Google Voice for work. Because I don't want to carry 2 phones around.
You don't want somebody having your personal number for work. Yeah.
But it was free and it's really easy to set up, and you can have multiple accounts. And they have other programs like that, WhatsApp and things like that change their phone numbers, so they can be using and bullying people from multiple accounts on the one phone, and there's no
necessarily tracking it or being able to know if it
I
is.
found my little one had downloaded an app. I want to say it was the Google one. And he was talking to some of his friends from school. And I said, no, you're not having some random app to have this kind of situation going on. And I deleted it. And he was very upset because he's like, that's my girlfriend and that's my friends from school and blah, blah,
So
blah.
it's an app that they have a conversation. Wow.
And I was like, well, if they want to talk to you, they can text you regular, but you're not having that on your phone. Delete.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do a lot. There's even apps where the purpose of the app is to hide things. So one of them I know, and it's funny, you learn so much from kids.
Yeah.
When you work in a position like you learn so much stuff from kids.
I tell my stepson that he's in for it. He's 8, almost 9. I'm like, well, you're gonna have to pay the consequences of my knowledge that I get from these kids.
I learned so much stuff from the kids because once they get comfortable and they're like really bought into getting help, they'll even tell us like, well, that's not how that goes, right? And they'll like educate us.
Wow.
Off of just the relationship that we built with them. And
and smart TVs. I'll get to that.
Yeah, smart TVs. Yeah.
I had a kid messaging on Instagram on her smart TV.
How does that work?
Because you can put apps on the web browser and you can put apps on TVs.
Oh my gosh.
So my kid has a phone and he has a time limit and it goes to bed at a certain time. Like it locks at X o'clock. Okay. So then I heard some noise and I went upstairs to his room to figure out what was going on. And he was watching YouTube or some video thing on his TV. He was technically using apps on his
TV.
And so I ripped all the cords out of the wall and took the Xbox remote and the cord to the Xbox, and there went that.
Oh yeah, because you can do it from their game systems too through the smart TV.
Yeah, because he was watching YouTube videos on the TV and playing on his phone at one point in the living room as well.
See, I remember when my kids talked me into letting them have TVs in their room, and then of course they say it's not really a good idea to have TVs in the room that you sleep in and everything.
Yeah,
that
we didn't have one for the longest.
It blows my mind that the things that are out there that our kids have access to. No wonder we have so many problems. I mean, it's like that is really scary.
Yeah, because you're trying to stay 2 to 3 steps ahead of somebody who's grown up with it. It's second nature to them to navigate some of these things.
I've got a little 1-year-old. Well, my granddaughter and my grandson, they're both 1. They get my phone and they know the whole scroll thing in it. I can't get over that they know how to go in and do stuff.
They can navigate your phone without having to read because they know what Siri is.
Yeah.
That is the funniest thing is like when toddlers say, "Hey Siri," and then literally look, my phone's reacting. Will literally say, "I want to watch whatever," or "Show me this on YouTube," and then they turn on their own. Like they want to watch Peppa Pig, they turn it on themselves.
But then sometimes some other kind of Peppa Pig comes on that you don't want them watching.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, YouTube is not allowed in my house anymore. He was watching Sonic videos, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
And then it was like not appropriate Sonic. And I was like, oh, no, we're done.
Because you start falling into that hole. You watch one video and then another one pops up and it kind of just.
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
That's how they keep you watching is to just queue up videos, right? So kids that young, but they don't know. It's just the next thing they think they're supposed to watch it because they watched 5 episodes already and they just keep on going.
Yeah.
And so that's something to be mindful of with kids. And I think that there's a lot of things tied to social media or just electronic use in general. And I would just say, for parents, Christmas is coming up. Before you buy something, you need to figure out how to use it. You need to set up your parental controls because they're not going to know. If you want to buy an iPad, get that iPad set up the way you want it set up. Have somebody show you, put it back in the box, or wrap it all the same. They don't.
That's a great idea.
That is a really good idea.
Because they don't necessarily have to know that they're there. When they run into a wall block, then it's like, okay, mom and dad are watching what I do. But
well, and I think kids should know that mom and dad are, when mom and dad really should be watching. Because I know that there are some parents that just let their kids, do whatever they want. And these kids are so smart on knowing how to do so much stuff nowadays. So,
yeah, I tell my older one, I'm like, here, I don't know how to set this up. Here, do
this.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I would say be an informed consumer.
Is there any apps specifically that you're like, no, your kid should absolutely not have that on their phone?
I would say below a certain age, TikTok is just really not it. To be honest with you, because the content on TikTok, it can start off as like, okay, here's a bunch of stuff that like kids think is funny or cute or whatever. And then it can quickly become like they start to see more adult or like suggestive things because it's just not well controlled. It's based on like algorithms and like who likes what and what's getting the most views.
So things show up on TikTok whether you follow it or not, right?
Yes, it's random stuff.
It's random. Mm-hmm.
And then if you pause on that video to like see the first 3 seconds of it, that goes into the algorithm. And so then you watch that one. So then the algorithm will say, oh, okay, you liked this or you watched this. So we'll put more on there. I have a kid that like is struggling with TikTok because he wants to go on there to watch funny videos, but he keeps seeing extremely inappropriate adult content.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so I would say definitely not TikTok.
And Snapchat.
Yeah.
That I always tell my kids when they're like, well, my parent won't let me have Snapchat. And I was like, do you know how Snapchat came about? Do you know why it was created?
Share with us.
It was created to send and share
inappropriate pictures.
Yeah. Because it went away and it was in the terms and conditions that nobody reads that they could share their servers because it was all shared. It was all saved on their servers. And so all these people were like, oh my gosh, all this is going on. And then now, with that being shared and kids doing that because kids do that because they think that it just disappears because it's not on their phone.
Yeah.
That I educate them on like the legal side of that and how you can get in trouble.
Yes.
Many investigations have come together from videos from Instagram and Snapchat. They're not gone.
Oh, wow.
And I've talked about because Snapchat started when I was in college, but my sister was in high school, and a girl shared or sent somebody a picture and they saved it because it didn't notify them at that point that they saved it, and they got charged.
That's a new feature,
they got charged because they distributed it to multiple people, and all of those people who had it on their phone got charged with having child photographs.
Yeah. Wow.
And they were kids. They were still in high school, and a lot of them were getting charged for that.
And if I'm not mistaken, that charge, I mean, if you have any kind of child pornography or inappropriate pictures and everything, I mean, you can get marked as a sex offender.
On the registry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kiddo that saved it and shared it ended up on the registry.
Wow.
Because you were distributing.
Yeah. There's so many conversations that, even parents need to have around all this, and then have conversations with their kids, because some of this stuff has really blown my mind, tonight. Because I've heard of the stuff. I didn't know what all they did. And of course I've got my granddaughters, they're in elementary school, but they talk about TikTok and stuff like that. I need to make sure to talk to my kids
and they
about
have
that
a
now.
kids TikTok, but it's not really a kids TikTok.
It's not really kids TikTok.
No, just like kids YouTube is not really kids YouTube.
See, they talk about YouTube too, so I won't let them have it. And I said, unless Mom's told me, specifically that you can do something, it's like, no, we're not going to do that. Don't do that at Gigi's. So, wow.
Yeah.
This is so crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I know we've only got just a couple more minutes. Anything else in particular that you'll want to share that our parents need to be aware of?
Maybe some good apps to add to their phone.
I would say more educational stuff to help them. I like Duolingo, to be honest.
I just got that yesterday.
Yeah.
Duolingo.
Yeah. Because, you learn languages on it. But if it's related to learning, then I would say yes. And just, kids don't really like Facebook, but
We have Life 360 on our phones, but on our kids' phones as well. We really like that to just kind of see where everybody's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if they have iPhones, you can also use the Find My app and attach all their devices. Can you think of any that kids should have?
Like maybe some good apps like Watchdog that might help keep an eye on kids. Is Watchdog free?
I think so.
Yeah, I just like you said, caution, use that as a last resort if, in building that trust with them, but also like setting the tone of being able to look at their phone. I mean,
that's a big thing. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Yes, I
We've learned a
appreciate
lot
your
of
time.
information. Absolutely. And stay tuned next week for Reach Across Johnson County. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JOCO Community Radio.
If you're trying to quit drinking,